What is tainted truth? How can you positively influence people? And what the hell is wrong with being offended? Stay tuned to find out.
Welcome.
Okay, here's the question.
You serious?
How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph?
Come on.
Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
Let's go.
This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman.
And push it out.
All right, what is up? What is up? What the hell is up, my dark horse friends and family? Welcome. Well, you know what? Welcome to a different type of episode today. I am still your dark horse host, Tracy Brinkman, and you are still infinitely more important. You are that driven entrepreneur, that infopreneur hoping to start, restart, or kickstart, or just start leveling up with some great marketing, personal, or business tips and results. But today I want to come at you from a different angle because I have been lucky enough over the course of a career I'm quite proud of overall to learn things from different industries. And I've said that a number of times, and I will probably keep saying that forever, in the fact that as I was going through corporate America, I would always look, first of all, within my industry for those folks that were doing it better than everyone else. But then I started looking outside of my own industry to find those folks that were doing good things in their industry and how I could use some of their techniques and their processes and their thought processes and their, even staffing processes to further improve wherever I was at in my career. So I want to do that again with you today. So today I got bringing back a very good friend of mine, Dr. David King. Here's one of the cool things about life, and I'm hoping you've been lucky enough to experience this too. As you go through life, maybe you're learning about something and you hear that there's this person out there that knows this something you're trying to learn about. So you go and you check them out. And they end up becoming a friend. Not just a mentor, or not just someone you go and check out and you give their speech and you stand up and give them an applause, or not just someone you buy a course from and they teach you some things, but a friend. Someone that you know that even after your original experience with them would come to an end or, stop having its usefulness, 100% that they're going to continue to be a part of your life. David King is one of those fellows. He's one of those guys. He's out there just trying to fix problems. And I'm just talking about for me, or for his family, which is a large family, by the way. I'm talking about he's doing things like prison ministries, transitional living facilities, transitional homes for single mothers. He's created SWEEP, which is Soldiers Walking, Evangelizing, and Empowering People, a community justice center. We're talking a man here who's on a mission to fix problems out there that he sees. He jumps in. He's even a pastor, y'all. I mean, he's been a pastor for quite some time. He's been out there helping $1 million companies. He's a business coach. I mean, I'm not sure what the guy isn't doing nowadays. And to top it all off, right now he's running for Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Wisconsin, which I live in. Now, here's why I say this is a different episode. In this episode, we're going to talk quite a bit from, we'll call it a political angle. But if you listen with those outside your industry ears, you're going to hear solutions for things that are going on within your industry, whatever your industry might be, whether you're a coach, whether you're a consultant, whether you're just a mom or a dad who stumbled across this episode, or whether you're an online course creator, you'll hear some great advice inside this episode that you can work into your life and into your business. So much so that you're not even going to get my words of wisdom at the end of the episode, because I just want you to hear what David brings to the table inside his world, and hopefully how he can impact inside your world. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David King. Well, I know so many folks probably remember you coming and hanging out with us. Oh gosh, it was some time ago. I know it was way back on episode 281, but it was a few months back you came on and shared some of your knowledge. And because you've got the big primary coming up here, I wanted to make sure to, get you back on, let you share some more of your goodness. And for those that don't remember you, I'm going to give them the whole intro. Don't even worry about that.
Okay.
But I think we can go wherever you want to. But I think one of the things I want to focus on is my man, the Fixer, right?
Okay.
Mr. King is known as the Fixer.
Yes.
You've done $1 million companies. You've done transitional living facilities. You've done homes for single mothers. You've done, the Sweep, right?
Yeah.
The Community Justice Center. I mean, the laundry list just goes on and on and on. And each one of those that I look at from the searches I've done and what I know about you is you're out there trying to help issues.
Yes.
Whether the issue is personal or whether it's, part of the culture or part of the area that you're in, I keep seeing everything you're doing is all about helping. And I imagine it was probably the same thing when you were in business. You were just trying to help the damn business make some money.
And fixing some of them that needed to be fixed because they was losing a lot of money.
My first question is going to be, why are you a fixer? What inside of you says, dude, I have to flip and fix this? Do you know, is there anything you can put your finger on as you look back over your life that kind of turned you into the fixer? Because I know usually when I see someone who's as long in the tooth as we are, it's usually something that happened in our youth that led us down a path that said, you know what, this is the way I'm going. I turned into a data geek and a marketing guy. You became a fixer. What drove you towards that?
I believe it's my mom.
Really?
Yeah. I watched my mom, and every time she found somebody that needed help, she fixed it. If they needed somewhere to stay, she allowed them to stay. If they need something to eat, she made sure they ate. I watched her take little girls whose family didn't have much in the wintertime, bring her in the house, put her on different clothes, send her to school so she can be warm.
Mm-hmm.
She had to walk to the neighborhood school. And then I also watched her on the way home, take her back in the house and put her back on the clothes her parents sent her to school in and sent her home so the parents didn't feel, shame or embarrassed or anything of that nature. That's just something that I saw in my life.
And for those of you that haven't listened, and I would encourage everyone to go back to listen to episode 281, Mr. King, my man David here, isn't from a little bitty family so that mom was just like, oh, I have lots. No, David is from a big family. What'd you have, like 6 brothers, if I remember correctly?
It was 6 boys and 1 girl in the house.
So your mom was just one of those gals that was like, I need to care for folks, even beyond the 7 kids she already had.
Sometime I would have called her house Eula House of Refuge, because that was my mom's name, Eula May.
Okay.
And she just started taking people in and helping, and everybody knew they could come to her, and people just talked to her, and she was just that way. She just helped.
Nice. Obviously had a big impact on you later in your life. And I'm sure we've all gone through our dark times. You weren't the God-loving guy right out of the gate, were you? No, tell me true.
Never. I was not born with the Holy Ghost. I wasn't born with the silver spoon in my mouth. I mean, I had some challenges coming up. Some was my fault, and some was my control, and some wasn't. I just made sure that none of it made me bitter, but it made me better.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys. I think folks that have gone through the caca of life and whatever it has to dish out and come out the other side with a smile on their face and learn those lessons are probably all the better for it. Well, because I'm a big believer that if you don't learn the lesson, the big man upstairs, the God, he's going to keep putting that lesson in front of you until you learn it. So you may as well just go ahead and learn it because you need to. And until you do, he's going to keep putting it in front of you. You think that's a fact?
Oh, that's definitely a fact. I think people don't know why they keep going through the same thing. And the reason it is you didn't pass the test.
Yeah.
So you can't move forward until you pass that test.
So you said it even better than I did. I think so often folks like me, we sit there and go, well, damn, I've put up with all this caca. It's time for me to have some good stuff, right? And you go in and you start doing your things and you get so self-absorbed that you forget to give back, right? And I think it's that giving back that enables us to really grow as people, to grow in our abundance, to grow in our ability to love, because you just can't keep taking, right? Am I on an island by myself with this thought?
Well, no, you're not on an island by yourself, but there's two types now. Because you got one that take, never gives back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we say to them, you got to give back. You got to give back. And they be like, well, no, right now it's about me. It's about me. But then you got the group that always giving and don't know how to take. Don't know how to receive.
Yeah.
Because you're so much giving. And then when somebody comes to you and says, okay, what can we do for you? And your mouth dropped because you ain't never, you really ain't been there. You so busy giving that you don't know how to receive. Mm-hmm. And then you got some that always taking who don't know how to give.
Yeah, it's that I think, like life in general, it's all about that balance, right? You gotta be able to give and you gotta be able to receive. And I keep finding that the more I give, I tend to get back in an amplified amount. It's not a one-to-one relationship. I keep finding that if you keep giving with your heart, right, sincerely, just here. You need it, man. I'm going to give it to you. I don't even care if I need it. You need it. It's more important for me. And then later on, it may not be a day. It could be a year. It could be a decade. All of a sudden, it just comes flooding back 2- and 3-fold.
That's one of God's principles. Give and it shall be given back.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you give, the more come back to you. It's just like when you plant a corn, right? On that ear is 340 corns on one ear. So when you put that one corn seed down and you get that ear of corn, that's more than you planted.
Right.
And so when we start to look at it, it's better to give than to receive, and it's better to give with a pure heart and not with something in return. Because if you're giving and you're not getting anything back, then in your motive ain't right, you stop giving.
Yeah.
But if you're giving and it never comes back at that moment, but it does come back because you don't mind it. I do it all the time. I'll go in a restaurant and I'll see somebody and I pay for their ticket. I tell the waitress, give me their ticket. And I just sneak and pay it, right? And then there's times I'm in the restaurant and somebody say, your food is paid for, you can have a nice day. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. So it's part of that principle, right? Mm-hmm. You give. And that's a principle of God. But the world, we say it this way: what goes around comes around. But it's going to come back. It all depends on how you gave it, or even how you took it. If you took it being deceitful, it's coming back. Somebody going to get you.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And I think that will come back, in 2, 3, 4, and 10-fold as well. You clearly have been a giving man for a long, long time. I see some of these dates going back to the 90s, and I know you did some of this down in Atlanta, Georgia, my old stomping grounds, my Coca-Cola days, and up here
down in Crescent, Georgia.
Where were you?
Crescent, Georgia. Now, Crescent, Georgia is in a county called McIntosh County.
Okay.
And it's in the middle of Brunswick, Georgia, and Savannah, Georgia. So we was right by the ocean. Gotcha.
You were a little further south than I was.
Yeah.
But still, and now you're up here, up in the Milwaukee area. You've been given and given and given, and now this isn't your first race. I know you ran for Secretary of State a little while back.
Yep, 2010.
2010, and now you're up and running for lieutenant governor. I mean, and I've been, like I said, I've been watching you. I think before we click the record button here, I've been watching you for almost a year now. We met each other and had just been hanging out since. You are a grinding son of a gun. You are a worker like nobody's business. I think your work ethic is probably only shadowed by my father's, and we're all from that same kind of mold. I think you cut your teeth on work and you keep working until you put your head down on the pillow, and then you get back up and you do it all over again, right?
Yes.
I guess I wanted to say all that to loop in and say, what made you step your hat into the ring this time around?
Well, for one, we have too many sheep, not enough, and no lions in the race. And we need lions. The way our state going and the nation is going, if somebody don't stand up, we're going to wake up and we're going to be in a communist country, a socialist country, and we're not going to be able to say anything. The next 4 generations is really at stake. We need to get them protected to make sure that they're getting reading, writing, and arithmetic and not being indoctrinated or confused. Our economy is going crazy right now. Our farmers, our family farmers are being attacked by big farm. When you look at business owners, look like they're going to have to close their doors because they can't get employees. It's so much that I know that me sitting in the seat of the lieutenant governor, I call it the seat of influence. And me being there, helping the people, the everyday person, and then also me helping the business owners and keeping everybody connected to the government and making sure the government only make laws that's going to benefit the people and not hurt them anymore.
So how would you go about keeping them informed of what's going on at your desk? And I know it should be open policy. I know it's not. It should be. What steps do you see yourself taking to say, all right, here's what I'm going to be doing to make sure you know what's up at my desk?
Well, with my desk, I'm going to make sure that it's so transparent because I'm going to be doing the same thing I always do. I'm going to be doing my Think About It Tuesdays. I'm going to do my Wisconsin Revival Rally show from my office. I'm going to let people know what's coming down the pipe. So if we need to intercept it, let's intercept it. If we need to rally around it, let's rally around it. You know, I think the biggest problem that we have in government is keeping the people ignorant until it's too late. I think we need to let them know ahead of time so they'll know exactly what's going on to say that ain't what we put you in office for, that ain't what we want. Wisconsin will look great with the help of God, the influence of God in there. And the thing about it is, when you hear the word, the glory of Rome, what they say is the influence of Rome. So when people will say that in Wisconsin, they'll say, well, what is this glory of Wisconsin I'm hearing? No, it's the influence of Wisconsin. We're influencing other states to get like us. We're influencing business owners to come on over into Wisconsin, that they can grow their business and we can help them get the employees they need and making sure the people of Wisconsin are safe. Our veterans is taken care of. I'm sick and tired of seeing veterans homeless and everything. So Amen. I'm going to advocate for our veterans, making sure they get better care taken for them, as well as our elderly and our children. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that sitting in the office of lieutenant governor, I can deal with a lot of the social issues that's going on across our state, human trafficking, sex trafficking, drugs. So there's a lot of things that I can be a mouthpiece for. And that's what I want to do. I don't like bullies. I don't like injustice. They need somebody to stand up. I believe that God has in me to run for this office, that I can be a mouthpiece for the oppressors.
Nice. I know we need to. You know, what's funny is I moved up here a while back, and I've done my time, like I mentioned, in the major cities. You know, the Atlantas. I lived in LA for quite a number of years, and the issues you were talking about, like, you know, the drugs. Oh, I knew about the drugs. That one was kind of obvious everywhere. But I think that the under the cover ones, like the sex trafficking, I wasn't so aware of that. And when I moved out here to Wisconsin, I thought, oh, okay, this is dairy farms and, you know, and beer. and of course, and Harley Davidson. And as I'm traveling the state, going to different events, I began to learn more and more about how much of all of that was really happening in this very state. And it wasn't being talked about by anybody except for, a few groups of activists that were trying to help with the issues.
Yes.
Why do you think those that are currently in power aren't standing up against these horrendous issues?
Well, because here's the thing, and I like to say it like this.
Sure.
I want to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
So those who want the problems are only going to get for a year because they don't want the problem solved.
Mm.
I got 4 years to address issues. Now, the people who wants to, how should I say this? The people who want the problem solved will try their best to help me stay in office to continue to solve problems.
Right.
But if we really look at it, neither side really wants to talk about problems, because if you start solving problems, you shrink government, you don't need as much money.
That's a good point.
Now you really don't have nothing to campaign on, because most people campaign on problems, not solutions.
Mm.
Because a lot of them don't have a vision to do that. So with me, I will become a threat because of the fact I'm going in talking about solving the problem.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, because you're right. So many of them are talking about, oh, hey, we'll do your taxes and we'll get CRT out and we'll get this, those platitudes, more than the real problems that need to be addressed that will help solve some of the other ancillary issues. That makes sense?
Yes. And the thing about it is, when we look at everything for what it really is, right? When we look at it for what it really is, we have a crisis of our walls being torn down. Mm. So you got the educational wall torn down. You got the economic wall torn down. You got the dairy farmers' walls being torn down, right? You got the energy wall being torn down, because why? They're trying to bring in all of these windmills and they're trying to cut down all the trees. And so you got the safety wall being torn down, and now you got what's being built is the wall of fear, the wall of hatred. All of those are being built up. So what do we have to do? We have to tear those walls back down and reprogram people. We got to reprogram our children. So they're not hating themselves. They're not hating others. They're not hating being a male or female, right? And they feel good about themselves and go ahead and get a great education that they compete against any kid across the world. And, so we got to redo that education system. We got to rebuild relationship between police officer and the community, because the media got everybody terrified that you ain't coming home if you see blue lights behind you.
Right.
So we got to rebuild that. I mean, there are some bad cops, but every cop is not bad. Just like there's some good politicians, and every politician ain't bad. So
there's some bad citizens too. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, there's some bad citizens, and everybody ain't good, because the ones that they're trying to take the guns from is the ones who's obeying the law. The ones that ain't obeying the law ain't gonna give up those guns.
No.
So there's a lot of things that we got to work on, and just like the Revolution War, I'm going to put together, I call it the 27 grievance that's going to go along in our communities across the state. And let's work on how many of all of those 27, if it's 30, fine, but let's find a way of which one we can solve right away. Mm-hmm. Let's solve those issues first, and then grade us every year on what we address. So by the 4th year, you will say, let's keep going, because we like the results. I don't want to be there for 4 years and just be a body. I want to solve some problems. We got to give parents their rights back. One lady just posted on Facebook how her friend took her daughter to the doctor, put the mama out the room, and started asking the daughter, are you comfortable being a girl, and all this crazy stuff at the doctor. So the mom should never be asked to leave out of the room, right? The mom should always be there, or the dad, and you ask those questions in their face. Matter of fact, you shouldn't even ask those questions. The mom or dad should be asking those questions. And so in the process of solving these problems, we'll make Wisconsin very sexy again, and people will come back.
I like sexy. I'll deal with sexy any day. I think one of the things I've been seeing, and maybe you'll have comments on this, and I think you just kind of did. I've been seeing a lot of like those walls you were mentioning. Hey, we're going to tear down the energy wall, and I keep seeing, well, they're going to tear it down over here so they could create a program over there that they just created a need for. You know what I'm saying? So they've done all these crazy nutsy things. It has driven the price of gas up to potentially help push their agenda of the electric car. Look how high gas prices are. You should really get an electric car. Well, ladies and gentlemen, do you realize how much petroleum it takes to create an electric car in the first place? I won't go there. But you know what I'm talking about. They create on one side, I don't want to mention right or left, but over here in this section, they create this fear and this chaos. And then so they can go over here and step in and say, oh, guess what we did? We just created this bill that will solve that problem because it creates another government program for something that they stirred up in the first place.
Right. When we look at it from that standpoint, those are lobbyists who's doing that and says, okay, I need you to push this. That's why I didn't go out and I didn't try to get endorsed by anybody. And I tell you why. I'm about life. I believe in life. I don't use the word pro. I'm life, just period. I can go to pro-life and fill out their essay the way I know they want it filled out. And I get the endorsement. I am Second Amendment, because I know what Second Amendment really means. Second Amendment doesn't have anything to do with hunting or carrying a gun. Second Amendment only deals with if the government override, we put it back in its place. I definitely love my Second Amendment to protect myself against the government, right? But I didn't fill out the NRA survey because anybody who wants the endorsement will fill it out the way the NRA wanted it filled out. Now, do I support NRA? Yes, because I took the NRA in the inner city of Milwaukee, and what people was finding out that the oldest civil rights group out there was the NRA, because they was going around giving guns and ammo to Black families and say, protect yourself. You have the right to protect yourself. And at that time, who was coming after the Black families? The government, right? Yeah. So, protect yourself. So I don't just fill out surveys. My walk, my life, it does it for me, right? I didn't run around trying to get endorsed by anybody. I didn't turn around and looking for no PAC money, because the only people that I want to owe is the people of Wisconsin. And I can tell the people of Wisconsin, I will never sell your trust.
There it is. And I really think it should be like that, because it seems like so many of these races have become beauty competitions. Yes. And here's what I mean by that. I can remember when my oldest daughter was preteen, right? We used to enter her in these beauty contests, and you get a nice dress and you do some sort of artsy thing. But behind the scenes, what the beauty contest really was is how many raffle tickets could you sell?
You're now listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Right? There's where the real winners happen. So it was this fundraising thing for scholarships and what have you. So it was all for good causes, but it really wasn't a beauty contest per se, as so much as it was a revenue generating opportunity for the organizers for their causes. And when I saw that, I'm like, well, this isn't really a beauty contest. This is a popularity contest, which is a part of the problem we have going on in politics and in high schools and in everything else. Hey, I'm super popular. Do what I do, whether you believe in what I do or not. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, and that's how it is. And I tell people all the time, you can vote for an image, and then once you vote that image in office, that image go away. You get the real person,
right?
Or you can vote for character, someone who have always stayed the same and was consistent in their message and who they are. And so I believe that people are tired of voting in images because everybody's not going to open their mouth. For example, I'm about to put a post. Did you know that the FTA, you know what they're doing now? Well, apparently, if you go and buy 2 guns, right? One for you, one for your wife. You purchase the guns for your house. then the ATF, I'm sorry, the ATF will knock on your door. They give you about a month and a half. Then they knock on your door and they want to see that you still are in possession of those 2 guns you just purchased.
But well, why?
I guess that's the way to see if you didn't buy them for somebody illegally.
It's funny. I see a lot of these rules and regulations being created, and you mentioned this earlier, and not just in the gun world, right? A lot of these rules and regulations end up impacting the average Joe Schmo, right?
Yep.
Let's say me, I want to go buy a gun. I got to jump through all these hoops. Me personally, fine. I'll jump through the hoops because I'll have the right to carry my weapon whenever I want to. But it's wrong as they keep raising the bar on Joe Schmo. Meanwhile, the person that they really need to be impacting, Jane drug dealer or Joe, human trafficker over there, they, like you said, they don't care. They're not impacted by these issues. They're like, I never went for a gun permit in the first place. What doesn't impact me? Meanwhile, people are still dying by guns by the thousands. So none of these pieces of legislation I see getting pushed are having the impact that the people are sold on. And there's my crux. The people are sold on something, and usually they're sold by whatever they call it, like the Women's Protection Act that they're trying to push through the Senate and the House right now, right? Yeah. Oh, well, gosh, the name, the Women's Protection Act. That sounds like a great deal. Let me go tell my congressman to push that through. I want to protect women. But when you read it, which most people don't, right?
Right.
There's some stuff in there that, has nothing to do with protecting women.
Well, a lot of this stuff, if we slow down and just read it, right? They got this group now. It says stand with Black women, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Stand with Black women.
Yeah.
But the sad part about it is it's pushed by Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger. So you sitting there like, okay, they don't understand or realize that people are using you to push their agenda. Mm-hmm. And because you don't pay no attention, they getting over. Because of why? Because of the simple fact that you did not pay attention or you didn't do your homework or research to see why they're pushing that the way they're pushing.
Mm-hmm. How do we get more people, I don't know, I want to say awake, because woke is not the word I want to use, but how do we get folks to take the 30 seconds that it takes to read a little bit? And it doesn't take, you don't have to research for hours, right? You just got to take 30 seconds to a minute to look at something. How can we as average Janes and Joes out here urge our friends and family and I don't know who, heck, strangers for all I care, to look a little further, to educate themselves so that we all win as a result? You, me, everybody.
Well, I think it starts with us as a community to have those coffee conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And educate people with what we know. Mm-hmm. That's how I got the people in the barbershop interested. Just having, I call it cut and conversation, mm-hmm. Go there and get my hair cut and shave and hold a conversation, but like, did you guys know? And so when you do it that way, it allows you to start to influence and inform folks. Mm-hmm. It's the ones that don't want to hear it. It's the ones that, I'm not going to be able to influence that one. So guess what? I don't have to waste a lot of time on one that don't want. But there's a lot that want to know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of those folks that want to know are leaning on the wrong sources of information, right? They're still listening to the legacy media and the mainstream. And those aren't the messages that are really going to help us in the long run. Am I wrong here?
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing about it is, I like to call it tainted truth. Mm-hmm. And misleading education, because what they do is they would tell you, well, they're trying to get our guns. And then they say, well, not really trying to get our guns. They just want to know which one of us have a gun.
Yeah.
No, they're trying to get your gun.
Yes.
And so I think that the most crucial thing that we have to do is begin to start educating people and say, okay, listen, I'm going to share this with you. Like I'm starting to share it with the Black community in Milwaukee about CRT. They don't know, they never heard the word flurries. So they don't know that there's people walking around trying to be cats.
Right.
They didn't know the real reason on transgender. And now they see it's coming into the elementary, K4, K5 kids. So a lot of things are now talked about because they didn't. And the beauty of it is, thank God for the smartphones, because you can say, go look that up right now.
Right.
And
while they're talking to them, right?
Right. Yeah. And then while they're looking it up, they be like, oh my God. And now I can give you more because you just saw with your own eyes. Now I can give you a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the big thing is just having, like you're saying, having those casual conversations, the coffee and the cut conversations where you're like, did you know this? Or you could even go, and I've done this myself, and say, have you heard ABC, whatever it is, right? Have you heard about this? And someone goes, well, no. And usually that follows up with, you're able to follow up with what you heard and what little research you've done. And then usually that causes that back and forth dialogue, and it starts the conversation. It lights the match, right? Yes. That gets their fire going. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I think it's when, and here it is, right? When people get afraid to share an opinion or ask a question, I don't get that. And that's just the way I think, but I understand how other people in their mindsets could be, oh, I can't ask a question like that.
Well, I'll be like, I can ask anything. And then people be like,
right?
People say to me, do you mind if I ask you? You can ask me anything. You have the right to ask me anything, just like I have the right to answer it or not.
Right.
But
there it is.
You have the right, but I think that one of the biggest problems that we have is that a lot of people do not want to ask those questions. A lot of people be like, well, I don't want to offend nobody. I got in the race to offend people. I ain't going to lie.
You're a pot stirrer, right?
Yes. Anytime you start speaking truth, you're coming to offend, because truth offends people.
Yeah.
So,
and what's wrong with being here? Let's go here for a second. What's so bloody wrong with being offended? Nothing happens, right? You like I grew up with a dad that was telling raw jokes all the time, and sometimes I got offended. Oh well, that's it. He said it. I didn't laugh. I moved on. I just didn't repeat it if it offended me.
Right.
But if I say something to you like, David Kid, you're a jerk, I could offend you, or you could be like, no, I'm not. Right. Or you could ask the question, why do you think I'm a jerk? Well, wait a minute. Now I have to defend my position. Well, I think you're a jerk because XYZ. Well, do you realize I did that because da-da-da-da-da-da? Wow. Now you have the opportunity to potentially change my opinion rather than just worrying about being offended.
Right. And one of the things I tell people is this. When I go across state and they'll say something like, one of your opponents don't like you. And I say, well, that's his business. I'm not going to get in his business.
Right.
He don't like me. That's his business. I'm not going to run around and try to figure out, why you don't like me? What I need to change? Nope. You don't like me. That's fine. What you see is what you get. You ain't getting nothing else. So shut up and move on.
Yeah. I think what's funny about that, and I was lucky enough to learn this lesson many, many years ago, like way back in the teenager days, 50% of the people, they're not going to like you. There it is right there. Which means 50% are going to like you. Right. The only difference is as you get to know more people, it's still 50-50. The numbers just get bigger, right?
Right.
Even if you think of like a movie star or something, not everybody likes this movie star over that movie star. There's like 50% of the people that do and 50% of the people that don't. It's just their numbers are bigger. So it looks like more people do or don't like them.
Right.
Stop trying to please everybody. Just be who you are and feel good about it and ask those questions and have that dialogue.
Right. And I think that we're not doing anybody any justice when we don't make those comments or don't ask those questions or don't give that information. Then we're no better. having the information and not doing anything with it is just as bad as not having the information.
You're doing everyone a disservice. You're absolutely right. It's like having some gift that God has given you and not using it. You are taking away from my joy by not being who you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You know what I tell people? I said, I was a seed that came from heaven that I had to mature to be that tree that the people in the world could eat my fruit.
Oh, nice.
So I have two choices. I can let people eat my fruit, or I can let my fruit rotten.
Mm.
And when I hold everything on the inside, then I'm allowing my fruit to rotten.
Yeah. I'm still stuck on the why everyone's all worried about being offended by everything. Now, mind you, we're not talking about those real things that you shouldn't say to people, right? We're talking about just having good, honest conversations, sharing opinions, even though I know you might not agree with it or I might not agree with yours. That's different. We're not talking about going out there and being blatantly obnoxious here.
Right. or culture canceling somebody because they don't agree with us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think that this is why God put us all on earth. We all have a free will, and we all are critical thinkers when we want to be. And I think that that's something that we got to look at now. How am I, as an individual, going to represent God, represent the state, represent the people without compromising myself?
There it is, right? And if you can do that, you're going to be winning all the way around. And I think as we go through our daily lives, that's something that's been taught out of us. One, the critical thinking you mentioned. I think school has kind of made us a bunch of automatons, right? Here, learn this, memorize that, boom. Right? Don't worry about having to figure it out. You don't need to. There are people that would do that for you. I think that's a problem. I want critical thinkers around me, right? I want to be challenged by them, be pushed by them. That's how I grow. It's how you grow. But I think that if we as a people, and I'm actually really asking you this question more than making a statement. If we as a people can go through our days and when we're faced with a decision, we look at it and say, how is it going to impact me, my family, and those around me? When I mean those around me, like, my neighbors, even though I may not talk to them every day, if I do something that's good for my family, but messes up their daily lives, well, then that's not good. Let's reevaluate that decision. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And one of the things I tell people is we all are grenades. And when we go off, we affect everything around us.
Oh, yes.
And so for me, running for lieutenant governor, that's why I used the phrase earlier, I will not sell your trust. Because if I mess around and sell your trust, yeah, my pocket might be fat, but what is it going to do to your family? You know, what is it going to do to your children? My children might be able to now go somewhere and I don't have to worry about education at all. But what about the next person? And so when I look in that mirror, I got to be able to look in that mirror and says, you know what, David, I'm proud of you. Instead of, you know what, David, I'm so ashamed of you.
Right. Yeah. It really is all about that man in the mirror or woman, depending on who you are listening right now. I think, and I know one of your mottos on your shirts that I have is the next 4 generations, right? We're not talking about now. We're not talking about tomorrow, man. We're talking about a vision that's looking out to save the next 4 generations. Am I right here?
That's right. Save the next 4 generations.
And I think that's how every single one of us, in office or not, should be working through our lives and in interactions with folks. It's like, look, if I'm going to do something that, again, makes my pocket fat, but has a negative impact now or for the next, maybe not for 4 generations, then I shouldn't be doing it, period. End of story.
Right. And the thing about it is, this is why we got to have character and not images in office. Because character is going to do exactly what they say they're going to do, and they will never back down. And true leadership will make the tough decisions because true leaders are not looking to be liked. They're looking to get a job done. Sometimes you got to make a tough decision that nobody likes, but they love the results.
I have, probably like yourself, I have been in positions in corporate and in the military where I've looked at people that were superior in rank or position, but weren't leaders.
Right.
And at the same time, I've looked at people that were inferior in rank, not as people, but inferior in rank or position, but were leaders. And you could tell because, like you said, they just wanted to get a good job done and get it done right and move stuff forward.
Yep. And that's the problem we have. We elect these officials and they're leaders by title. Mm-hmm. These are leaders of our state, but they're not leader mentally because they don't have that leader, how should I say, that leader attributes, right? Mm-hmm. Because they want to be friends. Like when I was in corporate America, you had leaders that did things just so you can like them to get some work done. But then you had true leaders, right? That would go in and get it done with you, and you would follow them anywhere. But then you got some that wasn't true leaders, and they'll call people, can you come in? I need help. They're like, oh, no, I'm not coming. But a true leader called, they'd be like, oh, I'm on my way. And they'd be like, well, how did you get them to do things that I can't get them to do? It's all in leadership. You got the title, but that don't mean you're a leader. But a true leader leads by example. Don't try to tell you to do it. They do it themselves. So they lead by examples. Like when it was time for signatures, I think 85 to 90% of my signatures I got myself, because I needed to lead by an example. I needed to show them that if I'm asking you to do something, I'm willing to do that same thing. I would never ask you to do nothing that I myself wouldn't do. And
nice.
That's what makes a real leader.
100%. 100%. So I want to be mindful of your time here. I know you have been grinding away and hours of sleep for you have probably been minimal at best.
Yes.
What do you think? Now you've got the primary coming up here in a few days, August 9th. We're recording this on the 20th. What do you think the biggest struggle that you're facing to overcome that hurdle and win in the primary?
Truthfully?
Yeah.
I really don't think there is one.
Nice. Yeah.
To be truthful. And what I mean by that is this. I don't look at it as two state senators have more money to spend than I do. Mm-hmm. They can put all the ads on the TV they want, but they would never outwork me. And my work ethic get to people. And the most powerful marketing is word of mouth, more than a commercial can ever do, right? So let's see, two of my opponents are running ads now, okay? Because they can't get all over the state. So they're running ads. So you have a lady says, I just heard Roger Ruff and Pat Testin's commercial. Sound good, maybe I'll vote for him. And somebody say, nope, I met Dr. King. I heard Dr. King. Dr. King is helping people even while he's on the campaign trail. People are calling him from all over the state that need some help, and he stopped what he's doing and he will help them. This man is real. So that word of mouth just beat out both of those commercials.
Nice. And it's true, man. I feel you 100% on that. And I think the two things, one good, one bad, coming out of that is, one, there are too many people that will make a decision based off of a slick commercial.
Yeah.
Right. They won't do, like we were talking about earlier, the 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Heck, take 30 minutes out of your busy day. You got time between now and August 9th. Take 30 minutes between now and then and look at the candidates that are going to be on your ballot. And you can go look now at who's going to be on your ballot. So you can kind of go through and check them out and see who really aligns with you. And then the other thing I'm seeing so few people do is get out and meet them, handshake, ask them that one question that you're passionate about. And I know you never shy away from it. I've been in a number of your events, and like you said, ask me any question. On the other hand, I've seen some other candidates that are really good at the duck and dodge, right? Where they start off with a 0 and they end up with a null, and they said nothing in between in response to a question. And it's a gift. Don't get me wrong. That's a gift. Unfortunately, there are far too many politicians that are using it, and people are falling for it. It's like, I didn't get an answer there, did I?
Right. And the thing about it is, if and this is why I answered the question the way you said.
Mhm.
I mean, the way I did is because of if people go do the homework and they look at everybody's track record,
Mm-hmm.
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. I tell people this: you can pick the other 7, and you got Batman and Robin. And remember, Robin always got beat up.
Yeah.
But if you choose me, you got Green Hornet and Kato, and I'm Kato.
I love me some Bruce Lee, by the way.
Yes. So that's the difference
Mhm.
of having both. Looking at everybody and say, okay, who's really fighting? Who's really going to fight? Who's going to say what needs to be said? Who's not going to say what needs to be said? Who's going to stand up for us? Who's not going to stand up for us? I mean, we got 3 in the race that was already elected officials in 2020, 2021, and they showed us their true colors. They didn't stand up for us.
There it is.
So, so if they didn't stand up for their own districts, what makes you think they're going to stand up for the state?
Yep.
I mean, if a person just sit down and just go through things, they'll realize there is no better candidate than myself.
There it is. So he has no struggles except for all the work he is doing. I know you've been racing all over this state. I've seen you at, a dozen events. I know my daughter's been to 3 times as many in the past few months. And I'm 100% backing behind you, Mr. King. I'm going to be shouting your name from the rooftops. Here's a funny thing. It seems like every third person that I mention you to, oh yeah, I've met Dr. King. I texted you this. We were down at a convention in Indianapolis this past weekend, and someone came up to us. We were having a conversation with them. They came up to us and says, "Didn't I see you speaking at a David King convention?" So your name had made it so far south, so far around. Now I believe they were from the either Indiana, Iowa, or Indiana. So, but clearly they had been up into Wisconsin and attended one of your Wisconsin revival rallies because they saw me speaking there and remembered you by name.
Yes. And so, I mean, it's getting out like that. And I was just on the Larry Elder show. And so, so it's really getting out, and people are saying, man, I didn't realize that, man. You are the better candidate. I even had people come to me and say, well, I was going to vote for so-and-so because I like them, but no, you're the man for the job. You can get the job done.
Yeah.
Because it's not about if I like you. It's about can you deliver?
Yes.
And right now, the other ones can't deliver. They have no real solution to real problems. And, with my experience in managing companies, with my experience in pastoring and working in the community, I know how to solve problems, and solving problems, I have a political mom up in Manitowoc. I call her mom, and she called me Mr. Solution. Because every question somebody asks right out the blue, I have an answer for them. It's like, bam, you ain't even have to think about that. A man with a vision don't have to think about anything because he already know where he's trying to take you.
There it is. I like it. Mr. King, I definitely appreciate you coming back on and hanging out with us. And any last words of wisdom you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I can give them a guarantee, and I'm bold with this.
Oh.
I'm bold with this. You go and vote for me August 9th, and I would deliver you the victory on November the 8th.
Ah, bam.
There it is, right there.
There it is. I actually believe in that 100%. I think if you could, I believe once you hurdle this August 9th primary, I think the rest of this is going to be smooth sailing because people are going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Now I really need to pay attention to this guy. And they'll start looking you up and going, damn, he's right. He is the one. He is the right guy for the job. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that there were so many people, just briefly, I know I wanted to let you go, but the Trump years, right? Everybody that didn't like Trump was so passionate about how awful Trump was. But did they stop to look at what he did? And I'm not just talking about as president, as he came through life, the things he built, the companies he ran, the real estate investments he did. If you look at a lot of the things a person has done, then you could look at them and say, all right, if I need a man to do this, that's the guy for me, whether you like him or not, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the picture we're trying to paint here is like, look, if you look back at my man David King's history here, the things he's done, the things he's worked at and strived for a while now, we're not talking about the past 12 months. We're talking for a couple of decades, a few decades, even back into the 90s. It's not like he's the new guy on the block here. You'll see that he's the guy for the job. Forget about whether you like the man or not. He's got the skills. Let's get him up there in the chair, right?
That's it right there. And I just tell people, if they go to the website, my whole history, this one guy took 5 days to research me and put that article together. So that's not something I put together. That's somebody else went and searched and put together about me. So he brought up stuff I forgot about because I'm just out working. I don't remember some of the stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that, didn't I? Wow. Oh yeah, I did have that interview. Wow. Okay. But it's all about my purpose. And my purpose is to help people. So I'm very passionate in helping people get that hand up that they need. I don't believe in a handout, but I do believe in a hand up. I do believe in helping people that want help. I believe holding them accountable and that they will become more self-sufficient, not depending on the government plantation. So, and this, as we solving problems, we'll see that plantation shrink as we solving those problems.
All right. And for those that don't know, that website you want to check out Mr. King's information, and that article he just mentioned is king4wi.com. That's right. King4wi. Yep. You can read all about Mr. King and his current run for the lieutenant governorship and why you should be voting for him on August 9th. Mr. King, David, I love you, man. I'll be seeing you soon. And thanks again for coming back on to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I really, really appreciate you. And I love you and your family to the top. Me and my wife is crazy about you guys.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.